so much for joining us. On top of this all, of course, a chance now for severe weather this weekend. We're going to check in with Steve Raleigh in just a moment.
Just moments ago, though, Covington declared an emergency due to flooding, and Dearborn County is now under a disaster declaration. We have our team spread out across the tri-state. We want to start, though, with anchor Kristen Hartman, who is at the banks tonight. Kristen.
Hi guys, want to give you a little scene setter, but also a fact. We were standing out here and a fella came up to me and asked me, well, how high is the river actually? And we talked with Steve, and as of Thursday it was at 56 feet. Everybody's watching it as it is expected to rise to about 59 feet plus. So this is an evolving situation, one people are closely monitoring. There are all kinds of restrictions already being issued, from driving, you don't want to go over roads that are covered with water, to the fact that this riverfront park, which is more like a water park now, is going to be off limits. Ramsey, the photographer I'm working with, I'm going to ask you to turn the camera around so we can see. This is bringing out a lot of people who haven't seen flooding to this degree in a good 20 years or so. You can see people are taking in the sights, taking pictures, because the water hasn't been quite this high in a long time. In fact, where we're standing on Yatesman Cove, I am told officials believe that this will be underwater by Tuesday. One river city is bracing for what could be major flooding. New Richmond is an old Ohio river town, which means it has seen its fair share of flooding over the years. But the one that still lives so vividly in so many memories is that flood of '97. That flood is why so many people there now don't take the threat of flooding lightly. The Ohio River in 1997 overwhelmed downtown New Richmond, affecting most of the people who live there and reaching out nearly to Route 52. Remember that flooding impacts so many things we don't think of, like firefighters trying to battle house fires and the like. And we're going to toss now to Tom McKee, reporter Tom McKee. He has been covering this rising Ohio River from the Kentucky side, but he also spent a lot of time in Ohio. You've been all over the place. What have you seen today, Tom?
Well, first of all, I want to point out that we have shelters here, like at the Alexandria Community Center. More and more people are showing up here every hour. It's adults and children from Silver Grove and Melbourne and California, perhaps any other communities in Campbell County as well. But the need for shelters and helping hands is not just in northern Kentucky. California and the East End have been hit hard as well.
The tarp had to go Friday. The camper it covered had to be moved out of the way of the Ohio River water in California.
Just trying to make sure that everything can be safe and properly taken care of, so we don't have to worry about floating down the river.
The camper isn't the only thing that has to be moved. There's plenty of work to be done in the family's home as well.
60 feet, I think it hits the basement, the bottom of the basement, so there will be water in the basement. So we're trying to get everything out of there.
Ross Steiner grew up in California, left, but came back to help his best friend move.
Got to get this house emptied. We've got the basement and the house across the street, because if it gets to where they're saying, it's going to get to the top of that house. So it's already gotten in the basement.
In the East End, Betty Bell vividly recalls the 1997 flood that filled her house with water, and now it's happening again. This time, she's heading for a Red Cross shelter.
As of right now, my brother said everything's underwater. It ain't looking good.
It ain't looking good. Those 4 words are going to be uttered by a lot more people along the Ohio, the Little Miami, the Great Miami, the Whitewater, and the leaking rivers over the next several days. Shelters are going to be happening. People are going to be helping one another. It's going to be a community effort to ride this storm out. Kristen?
Tom, I'm going to tap into your experience now. You covered the flood of 1997. What stands out to you most about the flooding from that year, and how it might compare to what we're seeing now?
Well, we have 2 elements of that. New Richmond, as you've said, the river level reached 64.7 feet. Everything south of Route 52 was covered. Everything was covered. Declarations of emergency. The fire department had to come in on boats to put out a fire, a major fire at one of the houses. Since then, houses have been built on stilts. Many people who have moved north or the other side of Route 52. But the big one that year as well was in Falmouth, Kentucky. The river rose incredible heights to flood most of downtown Falmouth, and it was that way for days. And the community has recovered in many, many regards, but there's an awful lot of places that you can go and you can still see it's like teeth have been knocked out. A house here, a vacant lot here. So those are the two most vivid recollections of the flood of 1997, Kristen.